All right, guys, it is I and Remy. Yeah, we're talking about you. How you doing? You all right? Finally, sorry for the late video today. It's been a bit manic. Yesterday we obviously had the, the problems with the website. So I've just been explaining, to the members how a few different things work and stuff like that. Been bombing around everywhere. Loads of shopping and all them like boring things that we have to do in life, and did a podcast. Cop Talk podcast is updated today if you want to listen to that. Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple, any podcast app, just search Liverpool FC Cop Talk. I think it was about 45 minutes long today, I think. Little catch up, some emails in there. I enjoyed today's podcast, it was good. And also the Dunk Knows Best podcast, I updated that as well today. It's nothing to do with football, that's just me waffling on about a load of shit. This is the first chance I've had to speak to you properly since my video about on the evening, when the Bellingham news broke. Now, sometimes I do call him Bellamy for some reason, similar. So if I say that, you know what I'm talking about, right? We're not angry about not re-signing Bellamy. He'd fit in well at Liverpool, though, because he's got no money either, has he? If you look into his bankruptcy. Oh, dear me, these Premier League footballers, they get what we could only dream of, and I don't know. Anyway, I don't know where to start. To be honest with you, I don't really want to go through it all again, because I think that the video I put out that night after Joyce's article came out was quite long, and I don't want to have to repeat the whole thing. So maybe it's a good idea to watch that before this. Maybe if you've got nothing else better to do with your time. In summary, probably a week before Easter weekend, I said to you guys, listen out around Easter weekend. Some of you know why. If you're a channel member or Cop Talk member, you'll know why. And just keep your eyes and your ears open and look out for Joyce, surfacing, towards the end of that weekend or possibly just after the weekend, Tuesday. And I also said maybe Ornstein, but that was just covering bases really, because I just thought they're the two that are likely to, come out with something from management, if you like, at Liverpool, and not a player or someone on the coaching staff, and he did come out, Joyce did come out, which I do believe was Tuesday evening, but he didn't come out with what I expected. And what I mean by expected is I just thought that it sounded very positive at the weekend in terms of Bellingham, and I'd been told that Joyce would be briefed after it. It was specifically, I was told, Joyce, but I thought maybe I don't know, but it was specifically Joyce. And I have my own thoughts as to who briefs both of those two. I do think that Ornstein is more Boston side, and I think that Joyce is senior at Anfield, all right? So ownership and club kind of thing, them two. I think they do cross over from time to time. The rest of them are just a waste of space, quite frankly. The clique, the Liverpool clique as I call them, who all sprung into action after Joyce, made his exclusive, so he wasn't just coming out with something at the same time that all being briefed. He went with exclusive, which basically means they've told me and not you. Yet then the clique, the Liverpool clique of journalists, all then clicked, chipped in with their various versions of that. Amazing, isn't it? They had nothing to say prior to Joyce's article, but suddenly they're all experts. The same with these Twitter ITKs and these people on Twitter and social media that try to gain following and stuff like that. Everyone knows everything now. It's amazing, that, isn't it? And but the news was negative, and I went through. I actually read that exclusive article in full to you guys, those of you that watched that video, in real time. And what I mean by that is I didn't read it first. I read it for the very first time with you guys, which is why I think that video was all over the place, a bit emotional, a bit angry. It was a bit cringe for me. The next day I was like, well, even that night I thought I'm going to take that down, and then I thought, well, no, see what people say in the comments next day, and you can always switch. You can switch it to members later, which is what I do sometimes. But the feedback was all right. People were like, no, it's all right, Dunk, it's fine, it's a good vid. And I think that a lot of people assume, and normally I would too, I think, or certainly leave the door open, that maybe it's not mind games is the wrong word. The negotiating tactic. Get the media do things for the club. You know what I mean? That's how relationships work. We drop you something every now and then, but when we need you to put something out there, not lie, but when we need you to. No, I don't think a journalist would deliberately publish a lie. Any of them. But sometimes the club might say, well, we need you to get this out. Right? Start asking any questions about it. That's just what we're going to give you. If you want to run with it or not, that's up to you. And I think that's why sometimes journalists can look rather foolish later, and we all go, well, you said this. Paul Joyce himself, didn't he? He said about Alisson, and I also believe Virgil van Dijk, but definitely Alisson, that Liverpool had cooled interest in him. Very similar to what we see now, but we went on to sign. And you've also got to understand that a journalist can say things to you in good faith, as can I, and things can change. There's been times before when I've done stuff like this, done a video or published a news article, and then within minutes something's happened and I've gone, well, you look a right plank now, Dunk, because sometimes people don't understand it, especially the younger fans. The younger fans, or these ones that are like just desperate to believe anything, see anything. So I think a lot of people think that this is a negotiating tactic and that it's bluff. And normally I would leave that open, because sometimes you'll see a journalist come out and say Liverpool have cooled their interest, and then you do get the other extreme of people, some now with Bellingham, saying, well, that's that, then it's not happening. Equally, as whatever you think of that article, to say it's not happening would be wrong. I don't believe that our interest has just ended in that player. We've seen this many times over the years. Managers at Liverpool Football Club stating, I will categorically not sign Mario Balotelli. I can tell you right now, categorically, I will not sign Mario Balotelli next day he signs for us. That's true. This is what happened. Phil Thompson, Robbie Fowler is definitely not leaving this club, leaves the club the next day. And other things. I think there was a comment once about Ryan Babel. No, he's not going anywhere, and we all know he was up in the air at the time or something stupid, maybe in the Babel chapter or something. But I'm not saying that, like Brendan Rodgers at that time, for example, or Phil Thompson lied. It's just maybe what they've been told at that time, or something significantly changed later. And in football, a minute, an hour, a day, it's a long time. Things can happen. But the reason why I thought it didn't sound like a negotiating tactic is I thought there was quite a few digs at Jurgen Klopp in that article, which if you read the article over and over again, you have to remember when the journalist is writing the article, someone has usually, if he's saying exclusive especially, has been in that ear telling him, right, or maybe that one, right? And you have to think, who is it? Who is the leak? Who's telling him this? As I always say to you, when you read something or hear something, who does it benefit, guys? Does it benefit you knowing something? Does it benefit a rival club? Does it benefit Liverpool? Who does it benefit? That's the first thing I think. Wait, what are you doing down there? Keep it quiet, please. It's my rescue pup. So I always think, who does it benefit? And if you read that article comes across as quite pro-ownership, pro-management, not pro-coach. So it doesn't sound like Jurgen Klopp is the man behind it, for example, or any one of his coaching staff. It sounds like someone higher up. Now, with it being Joyce, I think it's someone that is involved with the day-to-day runnings of Liverpool Football Club, and it's not someone in Boston. And we could talk about examples as to why I think that, but we'd be here forever. We'll be here long enough as it is. I'm like, we'll get a good video going. We'll be here for an hour at least. So you just have to trust me with that. So looking at the article, it sounded like someone above Klopp, in management at Liverpool Football Club in the day-to-day running, and it's not difficult to try and work out who that would be. Because in that article there was, several Jurgen went into the season with what he had. He said he was happy, and we backed him with Gakpo and this and that. We've given him money for all that. And don't forget, it was only a few years ago when we gave him the money for Virgil van Dijk and Alisson, right? Who the absolute gives a about what happened years ago? I don't care what happened yesterday when it comes to Liverpool Football Club. That is small club mentality. Whatever we think about Manchester City, they win a cup, a major title, they're out the next day buying someone. And you will hear, Pep Guardiola say it's history. I do believe Jurgen Klopp said this himself in an interview, the last game or something. I can't remember. Who was it with it? I can't remember what the interview was last week, guys. You know what my memory's like. I genuinely can't remember who we played last. That's how bad my memory is. And it's not just football; it's everything. And on a day-to-day basis, I genuinely have an issue with that. But I don't know if I want to get it looked at or not, because it's got its benefits as well. But the manager did say in his interview, he doesn't care about. I can't remember his exact words. Doesn't care about what happened before or whatever. And that's what I think. To me, when you get into, not an argument, but a disagreement with a fellow Liverpool supporter, saying the transfer window, and they're going, FSG did this, and, we've just won the European Cup just a few months ago. I can't stand them people, because I'm like, that was a few months ago. Yes, absolutely, we did that, but what about now? What about a few months from now? I don't understand that mentality, right? So the minute, right, we win a cup or a title or whatever, the very, very next day, I'm looking ahead already, because it's done. It's history. That's it. Nice one. It's in the bag. That's what Liverpool Football Club should be about. That was my mentality that was drilled into me as a supporter as a kid. So the article, the leak, the source of that article, I think if you read the article again, it's written in a way which I found very disappointing by Paul Joyce, to be honest with you, because I was trying to think, why? What? I'm genuinely starting to think that there isn't one of them now that is impartial in any way. Do you know what I mean? It's all about relationships if you're a journalist, and over the years you've seen them, move up and down. Dave Maddock at the Mirror has been saying something today or yesterday, transfer-wise. I think that was to do with Declan Rice, and people saying, is Maddock reliable? And it's like, well, Dave Maddock was reliable, when his closest was at Liverpool Football Club, the likes of Fowler, McManaman, and Murphy and all that, and the excellent relationships he had then. And I remember speaking to Dave Maddock. He called me up, back in the day. I won't say what he said, but he was friendly enough, and he was explaining a few things to me, and I'll talk about in my infamous book one day that's been coming for about 20 years. But Dave was, and if you, for example, when I see an article come out in a newspaper, if it is the Mirror, I'm looking to see if it's Dave Maddock writing it. If it's a name I don't recognise, I'm not going to pay attention to it, but it's to do with Liverpool. Same with other publications. But in answer to the question, Dave Maddock, I would say no, not now. I think they're all out. I think they're all frozen out now, James Pearce included, and that's why I think that the majority of them toe the line, because they're desperate for anything they can get at the moment. There's other ones that I'm not digging at Dave Maddock, by the way. There's other ones that I would dig at, but I don't want to mention them by name. I'm mentioning Dave because I think he's all right. I think he's good, and he's still a journalist I would pay attention to. And I do think he's quite a bit of a lone wolf as well. I don't think he's up everyone's, I think if he had something, he'd get it out there. That doesn't sound right, does it? But you know what I mean? But there's other journalists that, you've only got to see where they appear when they give their interviews on podcasts, YouTube channels, and stuff like that, and you can soon work out where their priorities and where their process thinking is. Ornstein and Joyce are different, but I do think Joyce was. I think, and this is where it confuses me. So I was going to say this is where I think Joyce is complicit in getting that vibe out. The manager was happy. It was his decisions when he went into the season not to do this, that, and the other. We all know his hands are tied to a huge extent, and he's had all these signings as well, and money's been spent here, and money was spent years ago. Big money and all that, So I started to think, well, he's complicit in all that. Like he's actually going along with, yeah, I'll put that out, And I thought, if you read the article, maybe I'm wrong. You tell me what you think. I thought it was a little bit negative towards the manager, or maybe not negative, but planting the seed a little bit. So if you don't know how all this game works, and you just glance at it, you read it, and it plants a seed in your mind. You go, yeah, that's a fair point. Do you know what I mean? And another thing, when it comes to another little tip I've got for you when it comes to news, and I'm sorry if you've heard this a million times or if you already know this, but sometimes we get new viewers or younger kids or something, is don't pay too much attention to the headline, because they influence you and drag you in or whatever. And a lot of the journalists, when they write a news article for a major publication, they don't usually pick the headline if it's a newspaper. And always look at quotes before you read any of the article. So if you see, Klopp being some like misleading head, like Klopp to bid for midfield, or Klopp revelation, or Klopp, when how they try and trick you. Liverpool echoes terrible for it. Skip the opening paragraphs, go straight to the quotes. Read the actual quotes, what the manager or the person being quoted said, and then go and read the rest of it, because these journalists can influence you and the way you think. I'm sorry if I sound patronising or condescending. I'm just trying to help. So I said or thought, hang on, Joyce, you're being a bit complicit here. You're doing their work for them. That was what I thought. And that's when it made me think. That was the only time when it made me think, is this some kind of negotiating tactic? Because is it effectively helping the club, if that is the case? The article didn't add up to me. The events in the run-up to that week and that weekend do not add up to me. And who we believe sat down and did whatever they wanted to do around Easter weekend, why do you come to say no? You could just go, no, this is, he's going to go and do this, or no, the terms are not right or anything. I don't believe that for 1 minute, that you travel all that way to say no. It just doesn't make sense. And then around the same time, people were saying, oh, well, there was a bid, I think it was Court Offside that said that if you listen to anything they say, you need your head testing. You don't have to listen to anything I say. I'm a fan. I've been here for a very long time. I'm not going to say how long. And I have no motive, no nothing. If you don't trust me, that's fine. I'm not bothered about that. But Court Offside isn't something that I would listen to. And another tip I've got for you as well. When you see someone say the reliable, when they're quoting a journalist, Liverpool bid for Bellingham, and then they get. We're not talking about a journalist here. We're talking about one of these numpties on Twitter or something. I can think of one particular Twitter account in particular which spends more time putting out affiliate links, selling merchandise and stuff like that. But and if you visit their website, there's more advertising on there than there is text. So you can see what the objective is behind that person. And when they put a claim out the other day, I don't follow these people, but some of you guys retweet it or comment, and it comes up in feeds and things. And I don't even keep an eye on them, Like I will keep an eye on all the journalists, even the ones that I'm not particularly keen on, or I don't mean on a personal level, where I just think are not a waste of space, just pointless. And this particular individual said Liverpool had bid for Bellingham, and then I think one of the things they said was trusted journalists, or the reliable journalists. When someone says that, and it can be true, I guess I've said it before, because it usually is true, and I would explain why they were trusted or whatever. But usually it's when someone's got something weak, and they're just trying to convince you, or they want you to fall into their way of thinking. So let's just say I'm FSG out, and I want FSG out, and they're plotting something really evil and bad against us, and someone somewhere's said something that kind of backs up what I want to believe. Then I could go, yeah, and that journalist, John Smith, a very trusted journalist, by the way, very reliable, and it's planting the seed, because if you don't know much about them, you're going to take that person's word for it. Let's be honest, if you read a tweet or an article and it says well-respected journalist Isram Tani or something, right? To do with another league in the world or something. Isram Tani, what a great name that is. You know, and you were like, Isram Tani, who the fuck, you know, and it said respectable journalist or the trusted, or, you know, you'd be like, right, okay, because you take people's word for it. You know, you don't think people are going to mislead you. Now, sometimes in the comments to such, you'll see someone go, yeah, well, and he got that other thing right, you know, and it's like, well, that person might have seen him get one thing right, but they might not follow them for 3 years and watch them get everything wrong, you know. We're going off track into who to trust and not to trust, or I'm just trying to tell you what to be careful of. And when I heard there had been this so-called bid the other day, again another bid, and the source of it was caught offside, I believe, and then some big hitters, if you like, in terms of, you know, former footballers or agents, you know, tapped it in, you know, touched on it, and we know because of that, simple as that, they were made to look ridiculous by the evening. I think there wasn't a bid. I mean, if you want to believe there was a bid, fine, but I don't. But I think it falls into what people want to believe. They want to believe, oh, there was this meeting, Liverpool made a bid, but it was rejected, or there was this meeting, and it was too much money, and Liverpool decided not to do it, and that's why we're not going for Bellingham anymore. I don't believe any of those stories, and there's nothing wrong with thinking those things, because we have to, between us, try and come up with, well, you know, what has just happened, right? I can't prove anything, but what I can do is work out what people say. And if that meeting went ahead over Easter weekend, which I personally believe it did, now this is to do with people responsible for Bellingham and Liverpool Football Club that made their effort to go there, there's no way that was to say no. And you could have a walkout at that point, right? Oh, well, it's not going to work. We're not, you know. They could have turned up and said, this is how much it's going to cost. But Liverpool would already know that. How can Liverpool now, and these ridiculous journalists, try and patronise us and tell us that we don't know that Bellingham's going to cost a lot of money? We know exactly the figures that have been quoted. And as far as I'm aware, I think at one time they were saying 145 million and stuff like that. And you know what? The way that football's gone, you know, we can say how much we paid for Alisson and Virgil van Dijk, but how many years ago is that? And at the end of the day, in life, 9 times out of 10, you get what you pay for. You know, there are exceptions to that. But you tell me you can find better baked beans than Heinz baked beans. Come on, guys. You know what I mean? I mean, Branston's might come in close, or is it Branston's or is it HP? I can't remember. I don't live in England anymore. But, you know, we've all done it. We've all gone, I'm not paying that for that. I'll get them cheap beans. They're not the same, are they? You know, so every now and then there's a little gem. You know, there's a little gem like that bottle of vodka I get on a Saturday, supermarket's own. It's only about £6. Nothing wrong with it. It's great. Is the equivalent of Andy Robertson in vodka. Do you know what I'm saying? Every now and then you can get a little gem, but most of the time it's not like that, guys. However, when you look at some of the clubs that, you know, some of these players that we're chasing at other clubs that you would say are not as big as Liverpool, go and hire their scouts, for fuck's sake. What are you doing, right? You know, go and hire their scouts. Go and see, you know, how come they're finding all this talent. So I'm very, very confused by it all, to be honest with you. And I don't know which way to go with it all yet. Some people that I would like to hear from haven't spoken yet, which is suspicious in itself. There is one of them that I think is a good shout is that, you know, how many times have we heard he's made a decision, going to make a decision, going to be a decision, going to be this, going to be that, blah, 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 blah. Like none of them have a clue, guys, what's going on. None of them. I don't have a clue what's going on. And neither do you. We don't know. It's impossible to know. But what we can do is we have a far wider audience than any of these journalists that sit there on a laptop when they're just trying to make something up, you know. Between us collectively as supporters, we can bounce theories off each other, and sometimes they click and are right. And, you know, one of these things is that, in my opinion, I don't think Borussia Dortmund would allow any kind of announcement because of the Bundesliga situation. If you go and load up the Bundesliga table and see how Dortmund are doing at the top there, the fans would go mental if during that title race, their star player turns around and says he's off. No way, Jose. And if you think about it, there's similarities to when we were going for Alisson and there was frosty things then and we backed off completely. And we all were devastated, if you remember at the time. I remember that one. We were like, oh, right, that's us out then, we're out then. But it didn't sound right. It just sounded like we were doing things to make it right. And there's a hint of this, I think. This, for example, if we, right, know about certain things that are happening concerning the club at times, not all the time, there's no Twitter ITKs around here that know everything, right? If we are privy to some things that happen, are you telling me that some of these clubs and people associated to them don't know? Are you telling me they didn't know what was going on in Liverpool this weekend, if we're going to believe that happened, right, last weekend? So, it only takes a phone call, someone go, hey, wind it down a bit, right? Because this isn't good for us. We've got a league title, we're chasing a title here, right? And if this goes pear-shaped, if this backfires on us, backlash, you know what I mean? So there's that element to it as well. Is that the situation? What was I going to say then? So Joyce coming out saying cools Liverpool interest in Bellingham. Now, did you notice he changed the title of that headline, or someone did? Overnight, it went from cools interest to ends interest. That, to me, is massively suspicious, guys. It really is. It really is. Let's speculate, right? Well, we're speculating all the time anyway, but some of it's based on a bit of knowledge somewhere. Let's speculate, right? You have a word, someone doesn't like what's going on with it all. Liverpool needs to distance themselves a little bit. Paul, we need you to distance, things. We need to back off a bit with this deal. We are going to push ahead for him, but we need to give the impression that we're not. All right, okay. Right, he goes and does his business, right? Talking of, you better not do your business behind me while I'm recording. Yeah, right. And don't think that this doesn't happen, because it does. So Joyce goes off and does his article. Someone comes back at him later, the source, and says, that says Cool's interest. That's leaving, we need to distance ourselves, Paul. And then, lo and behold, the next day, it ends, Liverpool end interest in Bellingham. That, to me, was very, very strange. It was just odd. Everything's not a conspiracy. Everything's not paranoia. But how many times do you see the journalists change stuff like that? It went from cools to end. Overnight. It wasn't the only word that was changed in the title, but in the headline, but it changed. And I don't know why. And I'd love to know why. So, there was other journalists that came out after Joyce. I'm not going to name them. I think they're an absolute shower. I really do. They have zero credibility, in my opinion. Listen, guys, I ain't got credibility either. If you want to think that, I don't want credibility. That's the difference. I didn't go to university, to practice a passion, to learn about a passion. No. That's not my job. I'm a football fan. I'm not educated to do things in a particular way or anything. But I'll tell you this right now. If I've got a belief in life, or principles, I'm not going to bend them for anything. And there's been times over the years when they've offered me incentives, the club, and I've rejected them. I'm not talking about money. Well, it is kind of money, but it's in an indirect way of offering it. It's not an envelope full of cash. It's like, well, if you work with us, we'll work with you. It's just, I've spoken about it before, just like things like advertising deals and stuff like that, I don't know. I just thought journalists are supposed to be like, a journalist isn't supposed to be biased towards anybody, right? I don't really want to get into other things, but a journalist in my opinion, is neither there to appease the fans or the club owners or the club management or the manager or the players. A journalist is supposed to use their journalistic experience and knowledge and, you know, to write what is true. To write what is true. And yes, you can write things, you know, I've been in a situation before, guys, where, you know, someone was trying to buy Liverpool Football Club years ago. They were really close with me. They were giving me updates on it every day. And please don't mention names in the comments. If you remember, you'll know about all that, because it was on there all the time, and they were on the members' website. And, you know, that was all to do with Dubai and everything. And, you know, like, I was getting so much information and stuff that I knew if I lost that source, and I hate using that word, it was a friend to me, and I was really upset with the way that our relationship broke down, and that was purely because, and they were passionate, and there was nothing wrong with what they said, but they said, you need your members to do this. They have to do this. They have to have this opinion. They have to do that. And I said, I can't do that. I can pass on my feelings and the feelings of what people involved in the process maybe think, but I can't force and I knew it was suicide saying that, because they were like, fine. And then they just cut me dead. That was it. Never heard another thing from them again. I got blocked. Never spoke to me again. And I was really upset by that on a personal level, because, you know, I thought that person was really cool. But I couldn't do it. I won't do that to them. It's just a principle. I don't know. I'm not an hero or anything. I'm just telling you, you know, like these journalists, I think they'd do anything. I think their industry's that naff now, that broken, that if they're there with a mortgage, they're probably thinking, oh, I'll say anything to keep it going. Do you know what I mean? Keep my payments up, because they'll be out of work otherwise. So you kind of like, I kind of sympathise with them to an extent, but that doesn't then, you know, explain or condone their behaviour, how they incite people online and how they interact with people. Certain, you know, journalists, I can think of three. One at the Echo, one at a national newspaper, and one at another publication, if you like, that are constantly winding people up. So no sympathy. No, I'm not no sympathy for them. I can imagine someone just like, best keep my mouth shut. And don't forget, you know, there's journalists that know a lot more that don't say anything as well, because they can't sometimes. But someone made a very good comment in the comment section here the other day, and it's probably a bit of an obvious comment, and it was like, why are we even giving, you know, why do we even listen to these people? And I'm starting to think along the lines now. I'm wondering now if that kind of stuff has, can't stand kids, me. Rocky's barking next door as well. You've got to remember it's exceptionally nice climate here, and everyone's outside. Okay, it's a bit noisy, including Remy, he's having a little nosy. I don't know if you can see him. Look, he's keeping guard. He'll make sure no haters come and get me. Kill. I'm starting to wonder now about these journalists. I think over the years they've declined. You know, like back in the day, the Liverpool Echo was amazing. It was great. Absolutely dreadful now. I was on there looking at an article today. There was more. I mean, there's more adverts on there than on an illegal streaming site, apparently, or a dodgy, you know what site. Hello. It's incredible. They're terrible. So they've gone all clickbaity, all these people. I think a journalist, to me, in that clique of journalists, let's focus on them, they write well, and that's about it. You know, they can string a sentence together, and they're quite knowledgeable on, you know, like on events, like the last time Liverpool did this, you know, so they maybe research, and that's about the extent of journalism now, I think. I don't think any of these football journals really come out with exclusives like they used to do back in the day. Paul Joyce's story, billed as an exclusive, wasn't really an exclusive, was it? Do you know what I mean? It was just, Paul put this out. Do you know what I mean? He didn't go out there and investigate something and find it. Do you know? And I don't know, like, I don't know. I think you'd be surprised how many ordinary fans are privy to things than the journalists. And I'm not talking about that are behind a Twitter account or anything. I know people on Twitter. Tag's an example. Tag2056 used to work for Liverpool Football Club. Great lad, lovely lad, well connected in many ways, shapes and forms. You know, and to people still at the club, lovely man, right? Never really says anything online about. He would never come out and say, I've been told this. Very rarely. I can't think of an example. But he knows stuff. He'll put hints out and he'll show his anger. But if you called him an ITK, he'd be furious, you know. But there's people out there that do have knowledge of what's going on. And they shouldn't always be dismissed. And we get lots of them on the members' website over the years. And I know who some of these people are and what the connections are. And, you know, a journalist by default, I don't think, I mean, if you look back at articles by Pierce, what the fuck what are you doing? Hey, come here, jump over there, you'll be dead minutes 3 floors down, are you mental? Come here. It's a fucking pigeon or something in it. Did you? I didn't see it, so I'll have to play it back on the video. If you jump over there, you daft lad. Hey, scare me then. At least I'll wake up tomorrow to no doggy poo. I won't embarrass you further. If you're not that tripod, I'll throw you off there myself. Get down. Get down. Get down. I don't know what I'm talking about anyway. So I think I was saying something along the lines of no. He's making me nervous. I'm very high up. Just if he goes over that one, he'll survive. If he goes that one over behind me, he's a goner, right? So stay here for a minute, please. I'm holding him by his collar now. He's made me nervous. If you think back to Joyce, Pierce, made huge statements in recent times, proven completely to be wrong. You know, if people like that are getting things wrong, then why do we offer them so much in the first place? The ITK accounts probably get more stuff right, but that's because they're just guessing. And you know, I know how these ITK accounts work, guys. I've run a website for 25 years, and a lot of it you can work out, you know, from common sense and movements. And if you know where to look, and especially if you know who some of these people are that make claims. If you think back to when Dalglish was sacked, I think I broke it 2 days before it announced, or a day, I can't remember. No one would believe me, obviously, because who's going to believe, you know, Fatty Oldham? How would he possibly know? I could tell you right now how I knew about that, but I can't at the moment. It's just sometimes you just got to know where to look to find these things out. I mean, when Rafa was sacked, for example, Christian Purslow emailed a friend of mine at about 3 o'clock in the morning, an email saying we've terminated Rafa's contract. I've got the email, still got it. We've terminated Rafa's contract. This is how we're going to break it out in the media. Quiet for now, don't say anything. You know, I felt really bad for Rafa at the time, because I thought, you know, he didn't know, basically in that email, he didn't know that he was being sacked. I knew that he was being sacked before he'd been sacked. And the reason that fell into my hands was because, or my inbox, was that Christian Purslow had sent it to my friend who had dealings with Purslow, but he shared the same Christian name as the person that Purslow was intending to send it to. So, you know what I mean? Like, he sent it to the wrong person by that name. Oi, you're pissing me off now. You're making me nervous, right? He's making me nervous. I don't mind if he's running around and jumping around. It's just after that thing behind, it did my head in. So, when that email was sent to my friend, he forwarded it to me. Have you seen this? Right? And he went, and he emailed Purslow back and went, wrong, whoever. Let's say they're called Daves, right? So, wrong Dave, Christian. And he went, oh, yeah, yes, yeah, keep it quiet. You know, don't say anything, please. Don't say anything, just message it to Big Dunk. So we knew about that. So there you go, ordinary fan or fanzer, finding that stuff out before any of these idiots in the media. Now, going back to the Bellingham thing, and I do think all I'm talking about is all relevant because it's all about who you believe, who to trust, how, what's going on. I don't know. I can't come to a conclusion whether this is a negotiating tactic or not. Why would it? What's the point? Borussia Dortmund are not going to negotiate the price down, right? Because they've got people that will pay it. It's as simple as that. Why do they need to do that? Some people would say, or some fans want to think, everyone's got like a little, well, it's because of this, unless you're like, oh, FSG would never pay it, I knew it would never happen. You want to believe something in your mind. So some people will say, oh, well, there was that meeting and they've turned up and they've asked for too much on personal terms. That meeting wouldn't happen, in my opinion, if personal terms were already, they'll have been discussed ages ago, right? Ages ago. So it's not that. There's no bluff on Liverpool's front, because you could say, well, maybe Liverpool are bluffing the player, to lower his demands. I don't believe that. I don't think Bellingham was motivated by that. And don't forget, if he signed for another, I said when, I didn't mean that. If he signed for another club, don't forget this LFC clip will then come out and explain why it didn't happen, and all that. Absolute nonsense. So maybe we want to believe that it's a negotiating tactic with the player. I don't believe that. A negotiating tactic with Borussia Dortmund. I don't believe that. So what is it then? Liverpool just genuinely will not pay that money is what I actually am leaning towards. But I am just so suspicious of the whole process in the lead up to the week and everything. There's just so many things that don't add up. To me, my initial thoughts when that article came out and I made the video the other night was, this sounds all very much like Timo Werner again. When you remember the boss really wanted Timo Werner, they wouldn't give him the money for it because then he wouldn't have money for other things, which I can't even remember. I don't know who we ended up with at that time or whatever. But was it Benjamin? I don't know. Or was that? I thought we were going to get Holland at one point when he was available for next to nothing. Anyway. If you remember, the boss wanted Timo Werner. They wouldn't give him the money. Timo Werner wanted us, and the boss had to speak to him personally. I've got something in my eye now. A personal phone call and said, "Look, you haven't done anything wrong. I want you here, but I can't make the deal happen." I thought he was pissing it. To me, it sounds a bit like that. It does sound like the common sense one, which you can back up on history of how they operate. The one that everything points to seems to suggest that the money will. I think the money could be there, but you won't be able to do anything else with the squad. That nothing, and you might even have to sell. We saw hints of that a couple of weeks ago, maybe, and the boss had said, about we're going to do, clever spending or whatever. Is that a situation where the managers had to think, well, if I do that, I can't do anything else in the squad? That's the common sense one. That's the common sense one. However, there are lots of other things, lots of that we've talked about in this video, possibilities. And the only thing is, I just that dog. Oi, get away from that corner. The only thing is, please, you're stressing me out, mate. I really don't want you to die or anything, right? And these people are big nervous as well. Now get down over there. I've got to put my foot down. Down over there. Down. No, not come for a stroke. Down, I said. Here, look, I'll threaten him with the phone. Get down. Oh, he gets down now. I threaten him. I was going to make a joke then, but you can't in this day, in this society. What happened to the old dunk? No, I'm not going. No, I'm not going there. Such a naughty boy, me. Anyway, I'll leave it to your imagination. I can't remember what I was saying now. It just sounds like that's where it is, but there's just so many things that don't add up. Would you really think of it like this? Would you really drag someone important +1 to a meeting to say, well, you know, we've been chasing this for a while, but we can't proceed? It's the same way. If it's bad news from Liverpool, if it's bad news from the players' camp, you don't do that. Plus, you're opening yourself up to speculation of, well, why they've been seen here and there, and getting, no, it's just, I just don't believe it. That's the thing. That's the thing that's struggling, that I'm struggling with, guys. I don't even know if I've made sense in this video. Please let me know. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And I said this the other night, my initial reaction. It's not a negotiating tactic. It's money, and it's these owners. And I really don't want to make a video about like how awful these owners are. You know, you've all got your own opinions. I've got mine. I don't want them here, really. They've been all right, but that's it, all right. Absolute minimum. They've overseen changes, but you know, like, wow, so you've made a bigger stadium that benefits you. Nice one, yeah. Because, you know, you sold, aren't you, that, oh, if we have a bigger stadium, we'll have more revenues, we'll spend more on players. That's what the fans initially think. You know, we're going to get more bums on seats and stuff like that more. It's everything that they've done is to benefit the valuation of the club and them for when they leave, in my opinion. If you want to say, yeah, but they've overseen success, well, that's your manager, because you've actually got a gem of a manager that's been able to do that and work under your conditions. None of the others could do that. So, worrying times if Jurgen leaves at some point, guys, and these people are still around. I genuinely think that we're at a stage now. If we can't sign a world-class player anymore, there's something wrong. Liverpool Football Club used to sign world-class players all the time. You know, beat the rivals and that. And I think that with Bellingham, you could argue, you could say, well, maybe he don't want to play for a team that's not in the Champions League or whatever. But everything we've heard for years has been that, you know, his career, you know, was Liverpool. He wanted to go to Liverpool, and he wanted to play for Jurgen Klopp. And if that had changed, why would they be having? It just doesn't make sense. So listen, at the end of the day, I'm past it now. Like, ultimately, all of this, you can blame the owners for, in my opinion, all of it, because they're at the top. They're the ones overseeing it. You know, if we had, you know, what's the word? Because he's putting me off. He's breakdancing now. Look, can you see him? You know, like when a dog lays in horse shit. Ultimately, if you had ambitious owners, then they would make it happen. They would make it happen. So I can't, you know, engage in the conversation about it anymore. I don't know. I think I've lost it because the dog is throwing me off. So, listen, I have to go now. It feels like the video is poor, to be honest. At the end of every video I do in my podcast, I always think, was it all right? That I think there's some good points in it that might help people, but all I've tried to do in this video is try to explain to you the different possibilities. None of them add up. The whole thing doesn't add up. I personally, I think my conclusion at the end of this video is not to pay attention to Paul Joyce. That doesn't mean ignore the things he says. I still listen to James Pearce and people like that, because you know where it's coming from and what the crack is. But no. Just because Paul Joyce says we've ended our interest in him, cool, and then ended our interest in him, means jack shit to me. Because at the end of the day, if the money's put there, I think there's a good chance of it happening. And that's it. And I really hope that we can start talking about something else soon, something different. My thoughts regarding FSG before I leave, I still believe they want to sell the club outright. I'm a lone ranger with that. I don't think many people share the same opinion as me. I think they want to sell the club outright. I believe there's people interested in buying the club outright. I do not believe these journalists that say that there isn't a single person out there that wants to buy Liverpool Football Club. Who in the world would believe that? Oh my God, he's getting right on my nerves. It's like he's like running around and he's like jumping up. Come here, you. Come here. RSPCA will be on to me in a minute. What's that in Spanish? It doesn't matter. Yeah, them. I think FSG do want to sell the club outright. I think there are people out there that would buy Liverpool Football Club outright. And you might say, and I've said this a few times the last few days, just in case you missed it, well, hang on, Dunk, they want to sell. People, you're saying there might be people that want to sell, so why is it not selling? Greed. I think they're watching what's happening at Manchester United, and I think they're just trying to, I think they want more. I just think they want more. That's what I think it's down to. I think, my personal opinion, is that they have more than one interested party in investing in the club in a minor way, if you like, which is just terrible, which just buys them more time, I think. And I personally think that they could have put that over the line several months ago, and they're holding out. And I think they're holding out to see what's happening at United, or until someone from United tells them what's happening there. And what was the other thing I was going to say? And I think that maybe that gives them an indication on price, you know. There isn't a single Premier League club that's come up for sale before that no one's touched or that nobody's had any interest in. You could say, well, why not Chelsea to go by how that was valued? But that was a quick sale, remember, for the obvious reasons to do with Ukraine and Russia and all that drama. So yeah, I just, my personal feeling is that they do want to sell, but for more than what's being touted and that, you know. So anything could happen on that front. But we'll see, guys. So I'll end by saying that, you know, I record my videos for the Cop Talk community, the people that walk with me, you know, whether they're here on YouTube, whether they're Cop Talk members, podcast listeners, whatever, whether they've been with me from the start in the 90s or whether they're just new here, everyone's welcome. So, you know, comments like, I'm really not interested in what casual viewers have got to say. You'll just be locked out of the channel. We ain't got time for your bullshit. The people that watch my videos, the ones that I care about, I feel like, you know, they're friends and family to me. You know, we've been together for a long time and we have a community here. These videos are to attract new people. You're welcome, and we'd love you to hang around, but we just don't tolerate dickheads here. All right, so I want to make that clear. And the other thing that I want to say to my come here, you. I swear, when I turn this camera off, smash his face in. Get on! You're making me nervous. And the fact that you're walking on this artificial grass and it makes that noise, it's like going through me, you know, like, just wait. I'm finishing now. Then we'll go and do what you want. This has become more about you than Bellingham. All right? Wait. The other thing I want to say to my Cop Talk community is, you know, I've got some things going on at home from tomorrow, you know, for, until the 19th. So I don't know if I'll be around much, guys. I will be on the members website every day. I have to be. And wherever I am during those few days, I'll be using my phone and I'll be in touch with you. I'll be in the chat room, t.me/Cop Talk chat. Come along and join us. I will be around, but I might not be able to do, I won't be able to do videos like this. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. If anything of real significance needs to be addressed during those 4 or 5 days, I'll be on here or on the podcast. Well, I'll definitely be on the members website. You know, that's that's my responsibility. So, but I've got to take care of some things, you know. I hope you enjoyed the video. I do appreciate your feedback. I don't know if the videos helped at all, really, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm just trying to give you a few pointers for you to consider while forming your own opinions, not what I believe, what you believe. And maybe I've said something in this video where you've gone, And check the comments, guys. Even in a day's time or something, come back, because some people leave some really good comments that make you think stuff, or they might have seen something. I personally, whatever the situation is at the moment, I wouldn't say that Bellingham would definitely not come to Liverpool, that it won't happen. I'm not like that. I don't believe that, guys, because I've come to realise in football that anything can happen. anything. Oh, I've seen some crazy things. You know, who'd have thought Dalglish would ever come back to Liverpool Football Club? You know what I mean? As a manager. So never say never. I wouldn't say it's a positive time, to be honest with you. Maybe they have backed off because of the Bundesliga situation. You know, we've seen Paul Joyce before tell us this deal will not happen, and it has happened, along with the other divs as well. So we just have to be patient. We just have to wait and see. And that's it. All right. And I do apologise for Remy, but I didn't want to leave him outside on his own. He's all right, isn't he? You know what I mean? Who remembers Rodders would punch your face in? He wouldn't take any of this. Right, I'm off, guys. I'm sorry if the video was if the video was pants. I will listen. I still intend to. I should be able to do some videos tomorrow. We'll have a cup of tea tomorrow, I'm sure. I have got a lot to do though. All right. T.me/Cop Talk chat for the chat room if you want to join us on your mobile device or your laptop or wherever you want. We're always in there. And it's quite a beneficial group, you know. I think you'll enjoy it. And that's your lot. All right, guys. Take care. Please read the video description for ways of how you can support my content if you enjoy my channel. I'm not a YouTuber. This is just an extension of the Cop Talk website. I think there's a thanks button underneath the video now. There's a thumbs up button. You can comment, which is supporting the channel in itself. You can become a channel member or a VIP member of Cop Talk, which is incredible. It all helps a brother out, you know. But just posting a comment or a nice comment or something's good. All right, guys, take care.